You want another example in our culture? This is prevalent these days. Are children good things? Now, depending on how your morning went, you might answer this, differently, but are typically children, if your parents out there, are children good things? All right, I'd agree with you. I think that's fair. But in our culture, especially in the days that we live in, children become the thing in a parent's life. Their success, their preparation. I mean, we can build our universe around them. And in doing so, that good thing excludes or pushes over the God thing in our life, and it ultimately becomes a bad thing. Because anything that we worship outside of God is eventually going to come back to bite us, to harm us. I mean, think about all the kids who were made the center of the universe in their families' lives. They've gone on to thinking in adult life that they really are the center of the universe. And so they can't handle a job because their boss isn't like my dad who'll give me anything. They go through these progressions where they figure out that they're not the center of the universe, and then they come back to their parents with bitterness. Hey, why'd you make me think I was the center of the universe? I'm not. I didn't know. And the enmity that gets built up in a child who has made God in a parent's life comes back to bite that parent in later years. Isn't that crazy? I mean, you take anything, your job, you're climbing the ladder, any of the good things that you replace God with, they will eventually be your undoing. And so Jesus hears from Satan, hey man, change the rock into a biscuit, and let's eat. And he says, you know what? That's a good thing. But that isn't something that God has asked me to do. That isn't something that God has prescribed for my plan. So you know what? My answer to you, my friend, is no. And Jesus does an interesting thing. He comes to Scripture every time and he says, hey man, let's look at what God says about this. And he goes back to the book of Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy is a compound word that basically means second law. It's the second giving of the law. And early on in Exodus, the children of Israel received the law. They wandered around for a long time. And then when it came time to basically get ready to occupy the promised land, they were given the law again, reminded of all the things that they were meant to be doing and probably weren't. So here in the book of Deuteronomy, Jesus pulls the quotes that he gives here in Luke chapter 4. He says, it's written, man does not live by bread alone. And he got that from Deuteronomy chapter 8, where it says this, remember how the Lord your God led you all the way in the desert these 40 years, to humble you and to test you in order to know what was in your heart. Stop for a second. Did you read that with me? Did we just see something that God does? That God actually, as he's just done with Jesus here in Luke chapter 4, he leads those who follow him into situations that are going to be difficult. Why? So that he can find out where we are with him. He did it with the children of Israel. He said, you're going in the desert for 40 years, and it's going to be there. You're going to be there to humble you and to test you in order to know what's in your heart, or whether or not you would keep God's commands. It says in verse 3 that he humbled you, the children of Israel, causing you to hunger and then feeding you with manna. Pause again. God not only led the children of Israel into situations of difficulty, he caused situations of difficulty to actually visit the children of Israel. It says right there that God made the children of Israel hungry. So that means that sometimes in our lives, God leaves us feeling hungry. He leaves us feeling depleted. He leaves us feeling need. Why? Because he wants us to grow in our faith. He wants to test what we really believe. Can we all agree that our faith is not tested when things are going well? There is no need for faith when things are going well. Things are going well. But when things are difficult, when we have trials, which James instructs us to take with joy, they are given to us by God so that we can develop our spiritual muscles and become the followers of him that he desires us to be. He led the children of Israel into a period of hunger so that they would learn to trust him, to stay on his path, and to wait for him to bring food that wasn't there. It's not like they were, in Publix and hungry. They were out in the wilderness with no access to food, no opportunity to plant crops, no herds to draw from. They were going to starve, and God said, this is perfect, because they're going to have to rely on me. And the Bible tells us that he made bread rain from heaven. It was called manna. It goes on to explain here that it was the kind of food that you guys, your fathers had never known, you had never known, and I did this to teach you that man does not live on bread alone. He says, but on every word that comes from the mouth of the Lord. I'm not going to settle for good things in life and make those God things, because when I do that, they become bad things. This is what Jesus is saying. I'm going to wait for God to direct me in his path. I'm going to keep him number one. He's my ultimate in life. And I'm going to choose to do what he wants, when he wants, how he wants. Because that's the life he wants to live. The bottom line of this is when good becomes God, it's bad. And Satan's going to tempt us with this all the time, Christians. Let's take the good things, let's make them more important or as important as God. And when we do that, he's got us. Jesus said no, so should we. He tempts him again. In verse 5 it says, the devil led him up to a high place and showed him in an instant all the kingdoms of the world. I don't know how he did it. If he had a high-def feed from Verizon, I don't know how this worked. But he was able to show Jesus kind of a panoramic view of all the peoples of the earth. And it says, and the devil said to him, I will give you all their authority and splendor, for it has been given to me, and I can give it to anyone I want to. Right next to that phrase in the scriptures, liar. I told you at the beginning that Satan's deceptive. He's self-deceptive. He's really convinced himself that he's in control. And so he comes to Jesus and he says, hey man, I'm the big bopper. I can give you all this stuff right now. That's not true. He's the prince of this world. That is, he has an influence on this world, but he's not the God of this world. The God we serve, he's still in charge. But Satan comes to him and he says, hey, Jesus, if you'll just take this shortcut, as it were, then I'll give you everything that you're destined to get anyway, right now. And so we come to the second topic of temptation. The first one was distraction. He tries to distract us with the good things, making them God things, and they ultimately become bad things. But now, Satan comes to Jesus and he says, hey, let's talk about control. He says, tell you what, I know God's got this great plan for you. You're destined to be the ruler of all the earth and to have everybody bow down to you at the saying of your name. Every knee shall bow and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. But I'll tell you what, I got the power. I can bring that into being right now. What do you say? And he tempts Jesus with a shortcut. Anybody here like a shortcut? I'm a big fan of a shortcut. I don't have time to waste. My time is valuable. And so if I think I can get somewhere quicker by going this way, cutting across your yard, I'll do it. Not really. I was actually at a building this past week, a bunch of buildings. It was a church campus here in our area, and I didn't know where I was supposed to be. There was a nice sidewalk perimeter around the buildings where if upon later evaluation, if I just stayed on the sidewalk, I would have got to where I needed to be. But that's so vanilla. I'm not doing that. That's got to be the long way home. I'm cutting through all the buildings. Is anybody this guy? Yeah. Some of you drove to church with this guy. Oh, if I cut up this street, I can save 30 seconds off our time. I'm that guy. So I started going down the shortcut. Now, all these churches now are locked down like Fort Knox. Every gate that I came to, locked. Did that keep me from going on my shortcut? Oh, absolutely not, because now it's personal. Now, I have to find this place where I am going. So I start going lefts, rights, more block gates, all that stuff. The amount of time I took trying to take my shortcut, I could have been to our destination 3 times over.